Hey guys, in today's video, I will be reading Part 8 of Charlie Small Gorilla City. A terrifying encounter is where we left off, so let's continue from there. A terrifying encounter. How I wish that I'd stayed in the safety of the city and not ventured out into the dense and tangled jungle on my own. For today, I had a truly terrifying experience. This is what happened. Humming a simple gorilla tune, I was swinging happily through the lower branches of the trees. I had traveled way beyond the outposts of the burly gorillas who keep guard over the city and was enjoying being out on my own. The sun was filtering down through the leaves and birds were chirping up above. I was just thinking what a beautiful and peaceful place the jungle could be when pow! Something exploded against my shoulder, knocking me from my branch and sending me spiraling to the forest floor. You'd think after Thrak had pounced on me, I'd have learned my lesson by now. I sat up slowly, rubbing my head and looking up into the branches. What had hit me? I looked at my shoulder and saw pawpaw juice running down my coat. The damaged fruit lay on the carpet of leaves close by. Perhaps it had just fallen from one of the trees, I thought, and stood up to brush myself down. A hail of fruit and nuts cascaded from above, stinging my back, rapping against my skull and grazing my face. I leaped into the bushes, heart pounding in surprise and panic. What was going on? The jungle grew quiet again, and I carefully parted the fronds of a giant fern and peered up into the trees. Again, a deluge of nuts, stones, and fruit rained down, and I threw myself to the ground, gritting my teeth as the projectiles bounced off me. They were really hard. Luckily, I was wearing my coat, and I managed to pull the hood over my head to protect my face. Then I curled up in a ball and waited for the attack to stop. Eventually, everything fell quiet again. I peeked out from under my hood and saw a slight movement. A shadowy form was stirring above me, its features hidden behind a curtain of leaves. What was it? I waited for a long time, hoping that my hidden enemy had moved on. Hours passed in complete silence, and I finally decided that all was safe. I was just about to creep back onto the path when, ooh-ah! A screaming face, a horrible face, all purple and blue, thrust through the foliage, centimeters from my nose. I panicked and, running as fast as I could, crashed through the undergrowth as a million missiles ricocheted from the trees and thumped into my back. Whatever these vicious creatures were, I could hear them clattering through the jungle behind me, whooping and screaming and barking like savage dogs. "Clear off!" I yelled as I swung up through the branches, climbing at top speed. "Leave me alone!" The animals screamed in delight, hot on my heels. Then, as I scrambled into the top branches of the trees, one lunged and sank sharp teeth into my bottom. "Yeah!" I screamed, striking out blindly and catching the animal across the snout, making it release its hold. I swung away faster than ever, racing through the trees and praying that I could shake off these fearsome attackers. I was sure that if they caught me, I would never see home again. But as I neared Gorilla City, the creatures fell behind and then melted back into the jungle. I've never been so grateful to see my gorilla friends swinging in the trees up ahead. But feeling shaken and slightly ashamed at how I'd fled from that weird painted face, I avoided everyone and climbed quickly up to my platform. Scared and exhausted, I flopped onto my bed. Later. It's been a really horrible day. I'm going to try to get some sleep now. And I just hope I won't have nightmares the next day. I've had horrible dreams full of painted faces that grinned at me like sneering tribal masks. I don't think I'm ready to brave the jungle again on my own after all. I'm going to have to ask for help. Bad news. I asked Grip and Grapple to help me find a way out of the jungle. They were really sad that I wanted to leave, but like the good friends they are, they understood why I wanted to try. They suggested we ask the elders if they had ever heard of a way to leave, but the news wasn't good. Leave the jungle? Said Safner, a big male who leads the guards patrolling the perimeter of the city. No one leaves the jungle. It fills the whole of the world. But it must finish somewhere, I said, suddenly worried. Our city sits in the black heart of the impenetrable jungle, and the jungle stretches for hundreds of miles until it reaches the walls at the end of the earth, explained Nanog, a really old female. You cannot climb those walls, for they rise sheer and featureless for 1,000 meters. No one leaves the jungle. But what's beyond the walls at the end of the earth? I asked. The sky, replied all the gorillas at once. But hasn't anyone ever tried to climb them? Once, during the Great Flood, said Nanog, a group of gorillas trying to climb to safety. But the climb was so dangerous that they fell to their deaths before they had reached halfway. Safner nodded. No one ever leaves the jungle, he repeated emphatically. But if no one has climbed the cliffs, how do you know what lies beyond? I protested. We don't need to climb them, said Nanog, starting to get annoyed. We can see the sky perfectly well from the base of the cliffs. I sighed. So much for getting help. I was pretty sure that the gorillas were describing the size to a steep gorge, like the waterfall, like the one the waterfall had carried me over. And if the jungle is in a sunken valley, it might take me 100 lifetimes to find a way out, but I'm not going to let my adventure end here. It's fun living with the gorillas, but I don't want to spend my whole life eating bananas and playing vine tag. No matter how long it takes, I will find a way out. I must find a way out. I'll write more when I come up with a plan. Really bad news. It's been a long, long time since I've written anything in this journal. I've been using every spare moment searching for a path that will lead me to the edge of the jungle. And I certainly made some weird and wonderful discoveries. The Truffle Grumper. The Truffle Grumper is a distant relative of the pig and smells like a pile of rotting cabbage leaves, only worse. It is meant to be delicious to eat, but it's so smelly that nothing can get near enough to catch it. The slime ball, a transparent blob of slime that creeps over the ground, digging shallow scoops in the earth in which to hide. Any unsuspecting animal that steps on one is stuck fast. The slime ball, which has no mouth, then ingests the animal through its skin, leaving its prey as a complete hollow carcass. Do not stand on one. But even though it's great to have discovered these strange animals, I've come no closer to finding a way out. Until today. I was out with Grip and Grapple, exploring a part of the jungle that the gorillas rarely visit. When we found the cliff base, we were just swinging along, stretching our arms before breakfast. And suddenly, there it was, a sheer wall of granite stretching away to left and right and disappearing up above the thick foliage. I whooped and thumped my chest with joy, and Grip and Grapple danced about, sharing my excitement. But when I bent my head back and looked up a steep cliff, my heart sank. The cliff face rose high into the sky, and I could see neither a handhold nor the cliff top. The gorillas had been right. I'd never been able to climb out, not even with the best explorer kit in the world. Grip and Grapple tried to cheer me up. Don't worry, you'll find a way out eventually, they said. And anyway, it's not so bad here, is it? The jungle's got everything a gorilla needs. And they were right. The jungle is a brilliant place. It provides me with food, water, shelter, and friends. It has made me strong and fast and taught me what is good to eat and what is poisonous. But at the end of the day, I am not a gorilla. I'm Charlie Small, and I don't belong here. So tomorrow, I'm going to take a trip back to the cliff, and I'm going to follow it from one end of the valley to the other. I must find out if there's some way up where I'm really going to be trapped in the land of the apes forever. Okay, that's the end of part 8. Make sure to like and subscribe. And also, like I said just now, don't forget to subscribe.